Okay, so today I want to kind of concentrate on just a simple animation concerning like ball bounce. How would you go about doing it? What are some of the methods? I have everything just kind of dropped in here. I put a sphere on here. I actually put a surface shader on here so you can kind of see, the texture deforming. There's just a simple, not that, but this standard surface shader with a grid on it for the color, so I can kind of see some. So when you scale things, you can see it meshing. Um, so there's like, if you kind of Google and kind of dig around on the internet, there's a lot of different tutorials on ball bouncing. A lot of people use ball rigs, which they kind of put some controllers able to control the squash and stretch and stuff like that. That's awesome. If you're advanced, go ahead and do that. And especially in terms of moving the ball forward, I'm just going to be going up and down with this. So you can actually do that without using any deformers. I mean, deformers would look better, I think, because you can get more of a exaggerated squash. Excuse me. But for the most part, if you're a novice to this or never did this before, you're going to take the scale right here and you're just going to try to like, okay, well that's my squash, there's my stretch. There's ways you can go about doing that you can use that method to make it kind of look good. First of all, trying to control it from this center pivot right here is going to be kind of a pain because you're going to have to move it. Say if you scale it in, then obviously your position from your bottom, from your ground plane is moved, and then you have to move it every time, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. And if you scale up, it's going to scale through. It's going to scale through the ground. You notice how it's kind of going through the ground. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is move this pivot point. So it's something kind of, basics of modeling 101. Taking the pivot point, it's in the center of the sphere right now. If you go to, I know my ground plane is right there, it's on top. I've moved the ball to sit on the ground plane, but I want to actually scale it from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is press D and click and move my pivot point like that to the bottom of the actual ball. So now whenever I scale the ball, it's more of a controlled scale in terms of like knowing where my ground plane is. So that would be the first thing I would do with this. So I have this set at 120, which I don't want. I just only want this like a 24 frame looping animation, and we'll go over looping animations if I have no time in this one. But for right now, I'm just going to set my timeline so I don't have to like create like a looping on it. So now I'm just going to bounce it in the air and bounce it back. So first off, I'm going to keyframe this one, press S, and I'm going to go to like 12, and I'm going to go to my highest point here. I'm going to press S. I'm going to go back down here. You could copy this position here to here, or you could just keyframe it in the same position. 1.016. Yes. Now let's hit play, see what we got. And if it's going really fast, remember your playback speed. I just go real time. If it's on play every frame, it's probably going to go really fast. We just want real time right now. Here we go. It just looks like it's kind of slowly raising. It doesn't really look very realistic. So what I'm going to do is you can adjust these in the graph editor. And you go to Windows, Animation, Graph Editor. Here we go. Now the only value I want to mess with is this translate Y. So I'm going to select that. So that's all I'm looking at here. So now you've got these Bezier handles. You can kind of adjust things. If you go to a linear, it's obviously going to make it very mechanical. Yeah, but you want to set it back to the ease in, ease out kind of. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select this one and kind of get more of an arc on the sides. Try to get this more flat. See, if you notice, if you adjust this, you'll start seeing your values change. See the way that kind of stutters now? If you do it the other way, you're kind of getting more of a, if that's what you're going for. But I kind of want this like really flat here and even. I could even gonna go up a little bit. There we go. Let's look at that. There we go. Kind of a stutter in the air. It's kind of cool. Like it's taking it a minute to go up, and then it's getting kind of like going over a roller coaster. You'd go slow up, and then you'd kind of go fast down, obviously. So let's make this thing more realistic looking by adding some squash, some anticipation stretch in it. So what I'm going to do is I want to make my squash here kind of how it would rear back to kind of stretch itself and form, but I don't want it way up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just squash the value down here to translate, or the scale here, and I'm going to press S to kind of override that keyframe. And what I'm going to do is I want this thing kind of more on the ground here. So I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to go to frame 2 and we'll paste it. And we'll do it for the same on 3. So now for this one, I kind of want almost a scale of 1. See my scale value over there, 1? But not really, because 1 would be kind of a normal. So let's go 0.9. Pressed S. For this one, I'm going to scale it past the 1, kind of give it a lot of stretch. Not too much, but you know, we'll press S. So, and if you'll notice, it's reached its 1 value at the top up there. So already it did a world of good for it, coming down. A little fast on the other re-entry, but let's like adjust it here, how we had it. So we want it kind of basically at the same value as that, honestly, to make it look looping. So I'm looking at my value over here, scale 0.34, 0.34, hit S. I'm going to paste this in place. Kind of the same way I did it on the other side. And for this one, I'm going to go up to that almost value of 1. It can be a little different than the other side. You could basically almost copy these from the other side. This one has a pretty good value. Let's see how this looks. It may work, it may not. I don't know. I've never really. Oh yeah. A nice little arcing formation. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it at that, and you can kind of play it over, and you can kind of adjust some of the values, I guess, you know, if you wanted to. Go in that graph editor, mess around with it. But that's basically how you can kind of do a single. Now, we talk about moving forward in motion. You know, I'll go over that with the next video. This is just a up and down, you know, but I think it's important to kind of start seeing like this. If you can really hone this in and get this one looking good, then, you know, moving forward is really not that big a deal. There's a little bit more elements in terms of rotation with the actual ball and everything, or like if you're going up steps and stuff like that. So yeah, so have fun with this. But yeah, that's the basics of squash and stretch ball up and down. So okay, thanks for watching.